Now, when I got up this morning and went through the papers and everything else, one thing really annoyed me. Really annoyed me. And that was this woman, Hilary Mantel, and her outburst against Kate. And I'm sure you've all heard it in the news. I'm sure a lot of you will have seen the story, lots of it on Twitter. But quite frankly, I think the Duchess of Cambridge deserves a little more respect than she got from this woman, who's obviously promoting herself in her book, as far as I can see. It's even got David Cameron going. This is what he said in India earlier.
Well, I think from what I've seen, it does look out of order. She's a brilliant writer, but I think what she said about Princess Kate is completely wrong. I've seen Princess Kate, batting for Britain at public events, at the Olympics and Paralympics. She strikes me as someone who is bright, engaging, great character, and also someone who's a brilliant ambassador for Britain. We should be encouraging that.
Of course we should. And people speaking out like this should be locked up in the Tower. If I was king, that's exactly what would happen. I've never read anything by this Hilary Mantel. Have you? I've never heard of her until this, actually. Have you? 0845 6060 973. Let's talk to Vicky Beeching, who is a theologian and feminist, I'm told here. Vicky, thank you for your time and good evening.
Good evening.
What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I actually felt similar to you when I first heard about it. I was reviewing the papers on Daybreak this morning, and the colleague of mine who was covering the story kind of told me the headlines, and I was instantly outraged, because the words are just so shocking, aren't they? And they sound so cruel.
Well, they're unnecessary.
But,
I mean, you could...
They are, but the big but, which is very relevant in this context about bodies, the big but is that having come home and had some time to actually dig deep into it, I feel like Hilary Mantel has been massively misunderstood. Listening to the entirety of her speech at the London Review of Books gives it a completely different context, and I genuinely think that the Mail have jumped on this for a cheap story, and I think that people like Cameron and Miliband chiming in and saying what a shocking state of affairs it is actually proves to me that very few people have actually bothered to read the whole piece.
Well, I've looked at the whole piece, and I understand what you mean, but this is a woman who is presumably reasonably intelligent, and she will have known that using some of the phrases that she used will play right into the hands of the journalists that you mention, and it will get her the headlines in the way that she's got them today. Now, she's probably misguided. She probably thinks there are a majority of people in this country who are against the monarchy. I think that's changed dramatically over the past sort of 10 years or so. I think there was a time after the death of Diana when people were very anti the monarchy. I was as well, but I think that's changed dramatically. And quite frankly, I think this Hilary Mantel has used this to try and promote herself and promote her books.
Do you think? I don't know. Listening to the tone of her voice, and also especially her final paragraph, she actually sounds like she has a heck of a lot of compassion. And she's talking about Diana passing through trials and ordeals at the world's hands, talking about, Kate as this person who's basically in a gilded cage. I think maybe the things she's raising are actually not to kind of garner publicity, but actually to have a real pop at the press and the public. And she clearly says that in the very ending, the final paragraph. She says basically that her own sympathies have been activated in watching how the royals are looked at. She compares them to pandas in a zoo and says, this is a quote, "We're happy to allow monarchy to be an entertainment in the same way that we enjoy strip joints and lap dancing clubs. But we don't have to let this continue. The pen is in our hands and the happy ending is ours to write." So to me, that's pretty clear that if she's having a go at anybody, it's not Kate, it's the press. And I don't think she's trying to get her own publicity. I think she's just trying to say, this is terrible, it needs to stop.
Yeah. Well, perhaps I've missed something here, Vicky. What do you think she thinks needs to stop?
Well, she's saying in the last paragraph that the tragedies that surrounded Diana are not necessarily things that we have to perpetuate, but that history repeats itself. And she says history makes puppets out of us because we're so used to kind of gawking at royalty. And I think she's actually looking at Kate with great compassion and respect, saying the words that she's used to describe her today are the way the public...
Well, I read it, and It didn't come across to me like that at all, Vicky.
But it doesn't out of context.
I think she tried to sort of save herself at the end. I think she wrote it knowing exactly what was going to happen, but I think she put the little bit in at the end just so she could use the excuse that you've given her. And I think she just wants to sort of garner favour, if you like, with the anti-monarchists. I think she wants to see herself there saying, this is trivial, this is rather, looking at a woman because she's beautiful and everybody looks after everything else. This, you can't help the way you look. She's doing a job and she's promoting the country. That's, I think, why David Cameron and Nick Clegg have got involved in support. Not Nick Clegg, Ed Miliband, I beg your pardon. I'm sure Nick Clegg...
I don't know. I mean, some of her words are very strong at the end. They don't seem like just an addition. She says, cheerful curiosity can become cruelty. We don't cut off the heads of royal ladies these days, but we do still sacrifice them. So I think she is concerned, and I think it's been very poor taste the way people have actually poked fun at Hilary Mantel's physique and the way she looks and the way the Mail has clearly...
Well, I think she deserves it, surely. She's done exactly the same to Kate.
Not if she's drawing attention to the way the press and the public... I mean, I think you and I won't see eye to eye. I don't want to have it both ways. I'm just saying I think she's a compassionate woman saying, look at what the public is doing to this lady, and then somehow the Mail's put a spin on it saying, she's the one having a go at Kate and it's because she wishes she was skinny and attractive and, clearly is not.
Well, I obviously you read it and got a different idea to the one I didn't. I think a lot of other people, obviously there are people who haven't read it, but basically I think she's done it to get some publicity. Otherwise, I'm surprised as well why she hasn't made herself more available for interview after doing this. She's kind of gone to ground and hidden herself away, and that always worries me.
Possibly. I mean, it would be nice to hear this explanation from her.
It would.
Because, as you say, otherwise we're just left speculating, aren't we?
Vicky, good to talk. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Vicky Beeching, theologian and feminist, who says she doesn't believe Hilary Mantel meant to be offensive to Kate, Duchess of Cambridge. If you read the story, I think she's pretty offensive, and it's almost to me. And I mean, I'm not a woman, so if you read it, please tell me your point of view. You heard what Vicky thought; she thought it was completely different. But I thought there was a bit of sour grapes. Here's an attractive woman getting a lot of attention for the way she looks, and now Hilary Mantel, again, a woman I'm not versed with. I haven't read any of her books. I'm sure all the people around me have, but I haven't. And I think she now feels a bit upset that she's getting stick and people are talking about the way she looks. Well, if you're going to start it, you should be prepared to finish it, shouldn't you? Your thoughts, 0845 6060 973.
This is LBC 97.3.